Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of Pick a Side Reactions. We're here after game one of the NBA Finals. And just to let you guys know, if you capitalize on Prize Picks promo, Jason Tatum 1 point equals a win, you're cashed out. I mean, it was only 1 point. He did have a stinker tonight, but it was only one
Tried
point.
to blow it.
He didn't need much to get that one. But if you guys use that, then shout out to you. And you can keep playing Prospects with this code to the right. Code PAS. Mr. Dells, you're the man of the hour because the Celtics just won game one of the NBA Finals. And I seen a stat on StatMuse that said 70% of teams that win game one go on to win the NBA Finals. Numbers are on your side, Mr. Dells.
But not really. Because 2022, we remember very vividly them winning game one and still losing that series to that team over there in San Francisco.
Absolutely. I'm not happy. Job's not finished. It's 1-0. You know what I mean? This game was crazy. I mean, how can you not talk about that first quarter? I was screaming up and down my apartment when Kristaps Porzingis came in the game and he was getting blocks. He was hitting 30-foot three-pointers. He was hitting that mini that we'd seen all season long, the block to the three to Sam Hauser. I mean, the energy in that first quarter, I think Boston's up 17 at the end of the first. It looks like a routing. You think Boston might run away with this thing. But of course, Dallas, they're a great team. You know, you don't just stumble into the NBA Finals. You don't just get there by chance. You have to be good teams. And they have a top two player in basketball in Luka Doncic. Unfortunately, not a lot of other people showed up for this Mavericks team. Kyrie Irving really struggled in this game, and they struggled altogether as a team from three-point lands. I think a lot of the stuff we said in the preview yesterday with Pierre kind of came true. You had Tatum play on the 5-man. You had the big man, whether it was Al or Porzingis, play on Derek Jones or PJ Washington, whoever the wing was. And, you know, they kind of lived with it. I thought there was a lot of times where Boston fought through screens, and there was a lot of times where if they weren't able to fight through screens, they were doubling Luka Doncic, then kind of, or showing and then coming back. And a lot of times, too, when it was Al Horford or Porzingis, but specifically Al that I remember, when he did get switched on to Luka, he was playing up on him. He was playing up on him hard, and he was saying, listen, Luka, if you're going to drive by me, so be it. He did get him a couple times on that step back where the amount of separation he's able to get is just insane. But I love the defensive effort we saw from Boston, especially in that first half. In my opinion, it was very reminiscent to that 18-point comeback we saw Boston have against the Pacers in Game 3, where something just clicked, and all of a sudden the defensive effort is there, and the energy is there, and it translates to the offense and get transition going. And then Jaylen Brown in that third quarter. I mean, for the Mavericks to cut the lead to 8 points when the Celtics are up 29, in years past, that would fold for the Boston Celtics. That 8-point lead would go to 4, would go to 0, would go to -2, would go to -4. But we've seen all season long in the regular season and in the playoffs, it's just been a different team mentally. They've been mentally tougher, and that third quarter was all because of Jaylen Brown. Multiple blocks, having the dunk, having the three-pointer. I mean, he was doing it on both ends. I don't know what the one-on-one numbers look like against Luka Doncic, but I thought overall he probably did the best one-on-one job against Luka in this game. Of course, he got some switches on Drew Holiday and Jason Tatum as well, but I thought it was about as good as you could do on Luka. But going up 1-0, this was the plan. This was the goal. And I do see some people commenting as well in terms of the assist numbers. Celtics, I believe, had more blocks than the Mavericks had assists. It was a lot of one-on-one action. Luka got his sometimes. Kyrie, when he was trying to, wasn't able to get it. And a lot of the offensive success we saw from the Mavericks in this postseason were lobs and were corner threes. And I don't know if I saw either of them. Maybe they got a lob or corner three that I'm not remembering, but it wasn't like the league-leading lobs that we'd seen all postseason long. It was an obvious concerted effort for Boston to take away those easy points. And they were living with PJ Washington, top of the key threes, and he was missing some of those.
That.
So it's a long series. Game 2 is on Sunday in Boston again. But to win this game by 23, 25 points, whatever it was, when the Mavericks were able to cut it to 8 and you have that type of bounce back, you keep that type of effort, you keep that type of just mental fortitude saying it's an 8-point game. We have not won this game. We got to keep our foot on their necks, and to have that run in the end of the third quarter and to go on to win, it was a great game for Boston.
Yeah, this game was decided by three things. The three-point shooting from the Boston Celtics was out of this world. 7 players hit multiple three-point shots for the Boston Celtics. That's an NBA Finals record. Second, what it comes down to is Kristaps Porzingis, his return and coming back and starting the game so blazing hot. It was an unbelievable experience to just watch him size up every single time he had the ball, use his height to his advantage, create a little bit of separation, take that mid-range jumper and just dominate. He was amazing. And then on the defensive side of the ball, especially coming out, being so aggressive as a shot blocker in transition, you have, I believe it was Hardy, if I'm not mistaken, going up for a yam, and then KP in transition goes and stuffs it. He was amazing as a rim protector today. But then, of course, you mentioned JB and how amazing he was in the third quarter. But what it came down to was the lack of shot making by the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic, for the first time in his NBA career where he has played more than 35 minutes or more, he was held to the fewest total assists of his career, regular season or postseason, with 1 assist tonight. Now, of course, that's not a Luka problem. Luka Doncic was doing everything that he could, mostly in that third quarter. I would have liked him to be a little bit more clean in that first half. But in that third quarter, he was the main reason why they were even able to bring it to single digits at all. But the team has to be better. You have Kyrie Irving, who struggled from three-point range. He went 0 for 5. You had PJ Washington go 0 for 3, although he was their second leading scorer outside of Jaden Hardy. Of course, they got a lot of garbage time minutes. But they simply could not execute at all on the offensive side. This was their worst offensive showing in this playoffs, the fewest points that they've scored in this postseason. And when they took the starters out, they had just scored 80 points. So they got a lot of it was really just an unbelievable showing by that Boston Celtics defense, the switchability that they showed, just also the consistency that they showed once they were down, once they were put against their backs against the wall, the lead's getting to 8 points. Dallas is really giving them a great punch. They stayed calm, they stayed even keel, and Jaylen Brown was able to continue to be that same force on the offensive side that he was on the defensive side as a shot blocker. He was awesome today, just being aggressive, getting to the cup. He finishes with a team high, if I'm not mistaken, 22 points. KP finishing with 20. And this was with Jason Tatum playing pretty mid. He wasn't that great altogether as a scorer. Rebounding the basketball, you always can trust that the Boston Celtics are going to be great. Jason Tatum's an amazing rebounder himself. But when the Boston Celtics have more block shots than the Dallas Mavericks have made threes, that is a recipe to lose a ball game if you are the Dallas Mavericks. Give credit where credit is due to Boston. They execute at a very high level, but this is game 1. And we understand that Dallas and Jason Kidd has been notorious for losing game 1s. He's only won 1 game 1 in his NBA career, in his postseason career, I believe. And that was last series against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So it's very early. Have to understand that. But how I feel after game 1, I believe that the Mavericks will come out next game and play a lot better offensively. But if Boston's going to continue to play at this level, I feel like 7's no longer in the question for me. I'm leaning Boston in 6.
I think Boston was fantastic. I think they made everything difficult for Dallas. The third quarter run you spoke of, Dells, I felt like that was a difference in the game. The Celtics' ability to withstand that type of run, that was a championship level response. I think Kyrie Irving left a lot out there. I think Kyrie Irving was missing shots that he usually makes in that third quarter when the lead was cut down to 8. Kyrie Irving had an open 3-point shot on the right wing against Al Horford in drop coverage, and he just missed that shot. That's a potential momentum swinger for the game. Kyrie Irving didn't show up, and he got to play better. Luka Doncic, you mentioned, Drew, he had 1 assist, and it's because nobody else could hit a shot.
Correct.
They made 5 threes on the night. He made 4 of them. The only other player to make a 3 was Derrick Jones Jr. I look at this game, and while the third quarter run was the most important to me in terms of the Mavericks trying to climb back in it and having a chance but letting it slip by them, this game was won by Boston in the first quarter. They punched Dallas in the mouth. They went on a huge run. They outscored them by 17 points. Kristaps Porzingis was damn near perfect. And that's where they lost the game in the second quarter. The Celtics beat them by 4 points. But in the third quarter and in the fourth quarter, the Mavericks outscored Boston. So this is for Dallas about withstanding runs and be able to make some of your own. I think for game 2, Kyrie Irving is going to play much better. He's 0-11 since stepping on Lucky. I mean, he's due for a win in Boston. I think the Mavericks do take game 2. But this game, it was awful. But listen, Game 1 against OKC was awful. Game 1 against the Clippers was awful. They had embarrassing losses and didn't come out to play. I like how this team fought down the stretch. They at least showed that, listen, when we're playing our brand of basketball, we can compete with these guys. But everybody around Luka has to play better. But credit to Boston, because I felt like how they protected the rim, the lobs was really excellent. And I do think some of these Mavericks role players got a little bit ahead of themselves. Jaden Hardy was trying to win the game with one play. So was Derrick Jones Jr. You had I have vividly remember when Derrick Jones Jr. went up in transition against 3 Celtics defenders. I felt like, especially early on in the game, it was a lot of Mavericks players going up and challenging Kristaps Porzingis as a rim protector. And shout out to Kristaps. He had an excellent game, and he didn't miss when he came out. And I don't even think the Mavericks game plan or strategy was terrible, because they're contested shots that KP's just making. But I expect that to go down to earth, and he won't be that scorching hot in game 2.
Even I agree with you, because in the second half, he was not the same type of shot maker that he was in that first quarter, really in that first half as a whole. But what Porzingis has shown just in this game alone is the rim protection is back, and it's back in a big way. I mean, the difference between him and Al Horford, shout out to Al, Celtic legend, future Hall of Famer, once he secures this ring this year, in my opinion.
They gonna retire his number?
42 might be up in those rafters as well. But the difference in rim protection when you have Porzingis and when you have Al Horford, it's just night and day. I mean, I feel so much more comfortable, so much more confident when Porzingis is on the court and someone's driving to the basket. Even a guy like Derrick Jones Jr., who they mentioned on the broadcast, former slam dunk champ, his leaping ability, his ability to finish around the rim. But having a guy that's 7'3", who can contest like that, can contest without fouling, who could block shots like that, is huge. And then another thing I think Dallas really has to clean up on is just the math battle. It gets talked about basically every single game when you're talking about the Celtics and talking about Joe Mazzulla. But if Dallas is only going to generate 27 3-pointers and Boston's going to generate 42, and listen, I get it. A lot of Mavericks fans have said in the comments, I've seen Mavericks fans say it on Twitter as well, that they just missed open looks. And I agree. I think there was a ton of open looks. As you mentioned, Joel, that Kyrie shot could have been huge. Luka had a 3 at the top of the key on an ATO where there was miscommunication. That could have been huge. It's a make or miss league, but still only generating 27 3-pointers. If Boston's going to have a plus 15 advantage just in attempts, and I get it, people are saying Boston hit everything. They shot 38% from 3. League average is 36%. It's not like they went out here and had hit 22 threes like Miami did in game 2 against Boston. Like, they had a good shooting night, but it wasn't this out of this world shooting night really from any specific player outside of Porzingis specifically in that first half. So I think Dallas has to do a better job of trying to limit the threes, and they got to generate some more. It's just going to be a bit difficult because, in my opinion, outside of Luka and Kyrie, who could hit a 3 from basically anywhere, PJ Washington and Derrick Jones, the corner is their spot. And if they're not able to get in that corner consistent, like we really didn't see at all this game, I think PJ had 1 open 3, and that was on a baseline out of, I don't know if it's out of timeout or just out of bounds play, where Porzingis gets caught sleeping. You hit PJ in the corner, he ends up missing it. But they weren't able to consistently generate that. And that's been such a huge part of their offense this postseason.
Their brand of basketball, Joel, that you said once they started playing was really just let Luka Doncic go and hope and pray that he can carry us to being anywhere near competitive in this game. To me, that's where I kind of have an issue with that brand of basketball, because you need a team to beat this Boston Celtics squad. We've already went over it in our last episode, talking about the advantage that they have as a team. When we talk about the Boston Celtics, you knew you needed a Herculean effort out of Luka Doncic, but it was understood that you needed Kyrie Irving to be that sidekick to Luka. You didn't have that tonight. You were able to bank on PJ Washington this postseason. We haven't really seen him in the Western Conference Finals be that efficient player he was in the first 2 rounds. And then tonight is a 3-point shooter. You have Derrick Jones Jr., another guy that was pretty inefficient tonight. The role players have to step up. To me, I don't know if we saw their brand of basketball that we've seen throughout the entirety of the playoffs, because a lot of what we've seen from the Mavs that has allowed them to be as successful as they are were these role players hitting their open shots. Tonight, obviously, they didn't do so. We already spoke about how Luka Doncic had just one of his lowest assist totals ever, but that's not because of him. He did what he could do as a scorer tonight. He needed his guys to step up, and I just don't know if we saw the brand of basketball from the Mavs that got him here in the first place. I anticipate we see that eventually in this series, but tonight I think it was far from that.
Usually I would go up here and harp on Tatum stinkers, right? But I'm gonna be real with you two and everybody in the chat right now about Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum, he deserves a lot of credit. And he deserves a lot of credit for this one thing. His ego being put to the side, because he's somebody that can go out every single night and he can attempt 25 plus shots if he wants. He's that skilled.
Yep.
Everybody else is getting going. Porzingis got into the game immediately. It's your turn to shine. On these switches, on a smaller player, you're gonna get this shot. You're gonna get these shots. You're gonna get going. Jaylen Brown getting going. Drew Holiday getting going. Jason Tatum, from a scoring standpoint, was not good today. He was inefficient. His turnovers were really bad. I thought as a defender, he kind of changed the way Dallas played offense. And then as a rebounder, he was also great. And he's somebody whose ego can be put to the side and let other players shine. And that's something that he deserves a lot of credit for. I've had this opinion, and I will continue to have it. We have ongoing debates about where Tatum ranks in the league. I still feel the same way I feel, but he's a great player. And this team is constructed around him, and his unselfishness is a big reason why they're able to thrive in this way.
Absolutely. I forgot who said it. It was some other content creator. Might have been Jason Timp. Might have been someone else. I'm sorry for forgetting. But whoever it was said that Jason Tatum just might be the perfect superstar for the Celtics team, because you have so much talent that although Luka Doncic is great, Nikola Jokic, Giannis, like, of course, these guys in a vacuum are just better than Jason Tatum. I'm not saying that with them on the Celtics, they wouldn't be in this point as well. But to Joel's point, to have a superstar who is willing to take, what did he take, 12 shots tonight? I don't have the stat in front of me. 16. Had a couple of those in the fourth quarter, but regardless, for a superstar to kind of take a back seat at times in a league where he's constantly scrutinized for taking a backseat, constantly scrutinized for every single game he goes out there, for his efficiency, for his points total. He even mentioned it in an interview with Brian Scalabrine that, every game people want him to go out there and score 35, but there's just so much more that he has to offer. So the fact that Boston has this much talent, it's kind of an ideal fit for Jason Tatum, where he's going to have moments he has to take over. I think he's shown that in this playoff run, specifically against Indiana, particularly in that overtime. And then in game 3, I believe during that comeback in the fourth quarter as well. But there's also moments where if Porzingis is playing like that in the first half, play through him. If Jaylen Brown's playing like that in the third quarter, play through him. And then there was a bunch of times, although he had 5-6 turnovers, and I think at least half of them were not even because of Dallas. It was just really bad plays by Jason Tatum. Every time he's driving to the rim, he's bringing in sometimes 3 defenders. And if he's constantly bringing in 3 defenders, and that means I have Derek White open in the corner, I have Drew Holiday, a swing pass to Jaylen Brown for an open 3, he could go out there and average 16 to 20 points, because if you're going to give us open looks, I feel great about that. One thing before, I don't know how long we're going to go tonight, though. Joel, you already predicted that Dallas was going to win game 2. Did this game change your opinion at all at the series? Do you still feel confident in Dallas in 7, I believe, or you're sticking with it?
I still like Dallas. I still feel confident. I actually think how they played in the second half made me feel really confident. If they can limit that type of explosive run from Boston, which I don't think is a guarantee every game, and you get Kyrie Irving playing well and these role players stepping up, they'll be fine. And Luka averages the most points per game after a playoff loss in NBA history. So we know he's going to be ready to go. I think Kyrie Irving is due. And that's my prediction. Game 2, Dallas wins, and game 3 is going to be huge.
I know we spoke about him already, but my Lord have mercy, Jaylen Brown's defense tonight was absolutely out of this world. 3 steals, 3 blocks, and those blocks honestly were some of the most impactful plays of the game.
First
this
time
was
since when? Did you see the stat?
No, I didn't.
First time since Tim Duncan. And he
Goodness.
did, I think, in like 2005, Tim Duncan, if I'm not mistaken. And he did in 3 quarters.
So Jaylen Brown's already an all-time great. He's amongst all-time great company. Dallas, can you believe they were talking about this being the worst contract of all time? That he
Tough
didn't
look.
deserve $60 million. What
Tough
does he
look.
go out and do? He goes out and wins Larry Bird Finals MVP and was the best player on. Let me not say that because Luka Doncic was amazing, but he was the best player on his team tonight by far. He was absolutely outstanding. And when the Dallas Mavericks are giving the Boston Celtics their best punch of the night, right there, standing 10 toes, was Jaylen Brown on both sides of the court. I mean, what a damn showing from him tonight. I respect the comments about Jason Tatum because at the same time, yeah, it's easy to just look at a box score and see that the Boston Celtics were able to win by double digits, and Jason Tatum really didn't have his hand in that as a scorer. But again, when it comes to being a leader, it really is bigger than that. It's understanding when to pick and choose your spots and your moments, and knowing when guys are going, we need to get them the rock. He's been extremely selfless this entire year. I feel like that has gone under the radar, and it's been a long time coming that he gets that acknowledgement. However, you don't have to be the cleanest of scorers. You need to be a clean playmaker, especially if you're not going to have it going. You can't just be on top of your scoring, not being efficient. You're being messy with the ball in his hands. It felt like almost every time that he was driving the basketball that he was getting stripped and he was losing handle of the rock. I think he just needs to clean that up. But other than that, I mean, what a showing. There's really not much else that you can say negative about the Boston Celtics tonight. They played a near flawless game.
We got some super chats here. Totally not DJ goes. Joel said Porzingis was gonna be ass. By the way,
That's tough.
Still a lot of series left, brother. Still a lot.
I
of
don't know,
series
but
left.
game one, if there was a moment for him to play bad, it was today, and he was so far from
I
it.
think this was the moment for him to be amped up. His testosterone is flowing. His juices are flowing.
Okay, no,
Now
this is hindsight
he's not
talking.
going to get up for game
Now
two.
he's going
hindsight.
back down to earth. Game two, all those shots you
stop
saw
it.
him make today is going to be a little short.
That's hindsight. Whatever.
Just saying. Bernard Life. Dells, when the Celtics win, buy me a Tatum jersey with Joel's credit card.
Hey, he said I could get whatever I want on his card. I got some money to spend, so maybe I could do that.
Oh, shit.
Jason Martinez goes, if, and it's a big if, Dallas loses this series, we need to look at game one as an example of how you need to change the structure of a team around Luka.
Getting to a finals. This is the first time he's gotten here. Now we're already talking about changing the structure of a team.
And I would
This
say
makes no sense. You just need better players around Luka. That's what it is. That's what it is.
No disrespect to Derek Jones, PJ Washington, Gafford, Lively. They have held their own and more, and they have outproduced, I think, what anyone could have possibly predicted, especially Derek Jones, who has a league minimum contract, and Derek Lively, who's like 19 years old when he gets drafted. But at the end of the day, if you're comparing role players to the Mavericks to role players on Boston,
it's not. Why would you do that? You shouldn't.
It's not close. It's not like that's why if Dallas loses this series, I'm not looking at and saying like, oh my God, you need to change completely everything you're doing with Dallas. I just think you ran into a really tough matchup. And if Boston's able to secure a championship, this is going down as one of the best teams in NBA history.
CRB goes, Joel, that was some comeback that the Mavs had in this game. LOL. Drew, how do you feel about Dan Hurley?
Hey, didn't happen yet. I'm optimistic. Would love Dan to be a part of Laker Nation. That being said, nothing set in stone.
Dan over JJ?
For sure. Didn't know Dan was a possibility.
Nobody did.
I know Dan's a possibility. Sign me the fuck up.
Shams is folding. I don't know what's going on with that.
Shams is having one of the all-time great collapses. He was up 3-1, and let me not say that. Woj has always been a super team in his own right.
Well, we'll see if that comes into fruition, but that's all our time here. Pick a side live reaction after the NBA Finals Game 1. We'll be back for Game 2 on Sunday, so catch us there. Make sure you like this stream. And oh my goodness, we just got a mega super chat. Mavs in 7. Sim, let's go, Joel. $160. Yeah, baby. Let's go.
That's a super chat. Sim, you're goated. You're goated. For that, Mavs in 7, I won't be against it. That being said, unrealistic. I appreciate the donation, but at the same time, let's keep it 100.
This is a sign right here from the universe, people. You heard it here first. Mavericks in 7. W for my guy, And that's how we gonna end off.
Whoa, we got
stream.
another super chat, bro. Sorry,
we
have to
do.
Yeah, screw Joel. We're pissing on him. People are mean. Come on, show some respect to Joel.
I can't believe we just showed a $2 super chat after $160.
Listen,
all
super chats,
all
super chats matter.
And not only was it $2 compared to $160, that's a crazy discrepancy. Are you not embarrassed of yourself? You seen somebody send a $160 and then you said, "Here go $2."
Not embarrassed. I appreciate it.
We're only showing 100+ donations.
Free Hola. We appreciate the donation.
Think of it like a church setting, right? You know the dude when they passing the hat, you know the dude just gave 100, 200 in a hat, and you like, yo, here $2. I'm gonna give you $2. That's not crazy. What are you doing?
We'll do the right thing. We'll end the show with the super chat on the screen because he deserves it, because he's a legend. Man. But we had to show the other super chat. It's only right.
Listen, Free Hola
at the same time.
I hate to sound like
send another 98 then if you really mean it.
I hate to sound like a
if you like that. If you like that. If you really think the Mavericks are going to win, send another.
Mavericks in 7, man. Listen, we off this stream. We'll be back for game 2, Mr. Dells, when the Mavericks tie it 1-1. Yes.